Welcome to Cool Books Quick. For this installment, we're talking about The Running Man by Richard Bachman, otherwise known as Stephen King. Now, this is a book that is a classic to some, but is probably mostly famous because of the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie of the same name. This story has similar themes, but plays out quite differently. Let's dive in. The year is 2025, and the world has become a brutal, crumbling husk of what it once was. Poverty and disease grip the lower classes, while the wealthy live in opulent, protected enclaves high above the suffering. The government doesn't even bother hiding its corruption anymore. They rule through fear, distraction, and the power of television. And in this future, there's only one thing that people can't stop watching: the Games Network. The network doesn't air simple game shows. No one wins vacations or cash for answering trivia questions. No, the network's shows are far darker, bloodier, and more dangerous. They thrive on human misery and desperation. The contestants are always from the poorest parts of the country, people with no other options, willing to risk everything for a shot at survival and a big cash prize. One show, Treadmill to Bucks, forces heart patients and the chronically ill to run on a treadmill as long as they can. If they fall, they die. The longer they run, the more money their families get. Another show, Swim the Crocodiles, drops contestants into a tank with genetically enhanced crocodiles. Whoever makes it out alive wins a small fortune, though that almost never happens. But the most infamous show of all is The Running Man. It's the ultimate spectacle, a deadly game of cat and mouse played out across the entire country. Contestants are given a 12-hour head start and a small sum of money, then released into the world. After that, the hunters, elite assassins hired by the network, are sent to track them down. The whole nation watches, rooting for the contestants' survival or death. If the contestant survives for 30 days, they win a massive cash prize. No one has ever lasted longer than 8. Ben Richards never wanted to be a contestant. He wasn't looking for fame or glory. All he wanted was to save his daughter's life. Ben lives in the decaying slums of Co-op City, where unemployment is the norm and survival is a daily struggle. His wife, Sheila, tries to stay strong, but the stress of their situation weighs on her. Worst of all, their baby daughter, Kathy. Kathy is barely a year old, but she's already struggling to breathe. Racked by a chronic illness, her cough is getting worse, and without medicine, she won't last much longer. But the medicine is expensive, far beyond what Ben can afford. He's been out of work for months, blacklisted for standing up to corrupt factory supervisors. Every job he applies for turns him down. His pride has been eroded day by day, replaced with frustration and rage. One night, sitting in the dark apartment with Kathy wheezing in his arms, Ben makes a decision. He knows it's a long shot, but it's his only chance. The next morning, he kisses Sheila goodbye and walks to the Games Federation building. He knows what signing up means. There's no coming back from this. But he can't sit back and watch Kathy die without doing something. When he enters the Federation building, the receptionist barely glances at him. He's one of dozens of desperate men and women lining up to register for one of the network's deadly game shows. Most will die within hours of their first appearance on TV. "I want to sign up for The Running Man," Ben says. The receptionist raises an eyebrow. "You sure? That's the big one. It's not like the treadmill shows. No one survives." "I'm sure." The next day, Ben sits in a windowless room, facing a group of network producers. They study him like he's a commodity, talking about him as if he's not even there. "He's perfect," one of them says. "Smart, tough, desperate. The audience will love him." The lead producer, a man named Killian, leans forward and smiles. "You're gonna be a star, Richards. Our best contestant yet. Now, here are the rules." Ben is given a head start. 12 hours to get as far away from the city as possible. He's handed a fake ID, $4,800 in cash, and a small camera to record 2 messages a day. The camera is mandatory. Ben must check in twice daily, letting the audience know where he is and how he's doing. The hunters will be watching those videos closely, using them to track him down. Then the game begins. "Good luck, Richards," Killian says with a smirk. "You're going to need it." At first, Ben runs. He moves quickly, disappearing into the city streets. He changes his appearance, dyes his hair, grows a beard, swaps clothes in thrift stores. He avoids transportation hubs, knowing the hunters will be watching those. Instead, he hitchhikes and uses back roads, constantly looking over his shoulder. For the first few days, it seems like he might have a chance. He stays in cheap motels, hiding out in abandoned buildings, always moving. He's careful to avoid surveillance cameras, blending into the crowds. His first video messages are calm, even confident. "I'm still out here," he says. "You're not going to catch me that easily." But the hunters are relentless. They close in quickly, and the network paints him as a dangerous criminal, turning the public against him. Citizens are offered a hefty reward for reporting his location, and many are eager to turn him in. Ben realizes he can't trust anyone. His money runs out fast, and soon he's starving, tired, and desperate. He meets people along the way, some kind, some cruel. A kind old woman offers him food and shelter. A young cab driver helps him escape a trap, but others aren't so generous. One man pretends to help him, only to call the network the second Ben leaves. By the second week, Ben is running on fumes. His body is battered, his mind frayed from lack of sleep. The hunters have him surrounded in a small town. He narrowly escapes with a bullet wound in his side, stumbling into the woods as the sun sets. He knows he can't keep running forever. If he's going to survive, he needs to take the fight to them. In a desperate gamble, Ben heads straight for the network's headquarters. He hijacks a plane, forcing the pilot to fly toward the towering building. The network executives watch in horror as Ben appears on their monitors, bloodied but defiant. "You've taken everything from us," he says, his voice trembling with fury. "Now it's your turn." The plane slams into the building, engulfing it in flames. In the aftermath, Ben Richards becomes more than a man. He becomes a symbol, a martyr. The people in their broken homes in crumbling cities begin to realize that they've been prisoners in their own world, distracted by the bright lights of the television screen. And for the first time, they ask themselves, what if we've been running too? There's a lot going on in this story. Let's talk about some of the themes. We have media manipulation and propaganda. The novel explores how the media is used to control the population. The game show The Running Man serves as a grotesque form of entertainment designed to pacify the public while perpetuating lies about contestants to shape public perception. The government and media work hand in hand to maintain control by keeping people distracted and fearful. This theme is eerily relevant in today's world of 24/7 media coverage and reality television. We also touch on economic inequality and desperation. In this book, the economic disparity and class struggle are central. Ben Richards represents the plight of the working class, pushed to extreme measures to survive. The society depicted in The Running Man is a dystopian reflection of real-world economic issues, where the rich thrive while the poor are left to suffer or die for entertainment. We also deal with surveillance and the loss of privacy. In The Running Man, contestants are constantly monitored and hunted in a surveillance state. This reflects the fear of a society where privacy is a luxury and personal freedoms are stripped away. The game show's nationwide broadcast turns even ordinary citizens into participants in state surveillance. But we can't forget rebellion and individualism. Ben Richards is a classic anti-hero who fights back against an oppressive system. His journey from a desperate man to a symbol of defiance highlights the power of individual resistance. His final act, destroying the network, is a bold rejection of the system that exploits and oppresses the populace. The show reduces human life to a mere spectacle for entertainment, reflecting the ultimate dehumanization of society's most vulnerable members. Contestants in The Running Man are stripped of their humanity and treated as disposable commodities for the amusement of the masses. This theme is a chilling commentary on how society can become desensitized to violence and human suffering. But what do you think? Comment below and tell us what you think about the novel The Running Man and how it applies to life today. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.